If you're often waking up with a sour or an even bitter taste in your mouth, this can certainly be a dental hygiene issue, but most people just kind of brush their teeth and move on with their day. The reality is this can be a sign of deeper biological problems in other areas of the body that really need to be addressed. Issues that can create significant health problems down the road if they're not corrected. So it was over on our video for 4 steps for silent reflux that Samuel asked, I wake up every morning with a sour taste in my mouth. What should I do? Now there's a variety of causes that can create this sour or bitter taste in the morning, like zinc deficiencies and even like a candida overgrowth in the mouth. And if a person has that, they could use things like grapefruit seed extract or maybe some dental probiotics to help clear that up a little bit. Maybe a person's on a keto diet that's affecting the taste that they're having. But in this video, I want to go over the 4 most common underlying causes that can create this symptom and a whole lot of trouble down the road. And cause number 3 is even going to help you understand why this taste is often so sour. So cause number 1 is acid reflux and even silent reflux, where a person might not be having heartburn or reflux type symptoms, but they're experiencing this sour taste in the mouth because things are coming back up even though they're not being burned or feeling that burning sensation. So with this study in the Journal of Gastroenterology and Motility, they showed that this sour mouth symptom is very common with acid reflux and gastroparesis. And these symptoms are very common for us to see when people are experiencing low stomach acid issues. That's right, acid reflux is not usually caused by too much stomach acid like advertisers want us to believe. It's usually caused by a lack of stomach acid, and then the small amount of acid that they have is coming back up and burning them because they don't have enough acid in the stomach to trigger that lower esophageal sphincter or LES valve at the bottom of the esophagus to close correctly. Now we have a lot of videos that go over this. I'm not going to dig too far into this, but people usually correct acid reflux by acidifying the stomach more with either apple cider vinegar that can help if someone just needs a little bit of boost. But most people need to take more aggressive steps and use like betaine HCl capsules to understand how to really acidify that stomach and stop that reflux from happening. We'll put a link in the description below for our video on how much betaine HCl do I need to use. You really want to understand how to use that the right way. You don't want to just take it willy-nilly because a lot of people will just take 1 capsule and they'll actually magnify their reflux symptom. Or maybe things are refluxing back up and giving them that sour taste, but they don't have any burning, but once they start using betaine HCl, they really get a burning sensation because now they've increased the acid in the stomach, so now that symptom is magnified, but they haven't increased the acid enough to trigger that valve to close and stop the reflux problem. But if a person is having acid reflux because of a lack of stomach acid, that's also going to lead to nutrient deficiencies because you don't have enough acid to really break your food down correctly and get the nutrients out of that food. That also means you don't have enough acid in the stomach to keep the pathogens from coming in and setting up camp that are coming in on the food that we're eating. So if a person's dealing with acid reflux symptoms, we really want to correct the actual underlying cause of that problem so the body can function the way that it's supposed to. Now, underlying cause number 2 can be bile reflux. And bile is this soapy substance that's made by the liver and then it's stored in the gallbladder, and then it comes down when the acid stuff leaves the stomach, and then that gallbladder squirts this bile stuff down into the duodenum to help us neutralize those acids and emulsify our dietary fats. But if everything isn't working correctly, that bile can sometimes reflux back up into the stomach. And then it can have a really bitter or sour taste to it if that bile is coming back up the esophagus. Again, this is usually caused by a lack of stomach acid and things are not moving in the right direction like they're supposed to. We'll put a link in the description below for our video on understanding bile reflux if you think this is an issue for you. But again, this is about getting the digestive malfunctions corrected so that whole system works correctly. Now, cause number 3, which will really help us understand this whole sour situation, is for some type of bacterial overgrowth to be going on, either in the stomach or the small intestine, like a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO, like all the cool kids call it. So we really shouldn't have a lot of bacteria in the stomach or the small intestine. But when we do, these bacteria will ferment sugars that are coming into the system. And that fermentation process creates this sour situation. That's basically where the sour taste comes from in yogurt and kombucha and sourdough. It's from this bacteria fermenting things. So this fermentation creates this sour taste, and then if there's not enough acid in the stomach, which is usually the case when someone has some type of overgrowth because the front door was open. They didn't have enough stomach acid there to keep the bad guys out. Mother Nature's not such an idiot. She put that stomach acid there for a reason. So if a person is not making stomach acid, or they've turned it off with some type of reflux medication, then that stomach is going to be a more alkaline environment that invites the bad guys in. They come in, they set up a keg party, they raise their kids, and then they're fermenting all this stuff that creates that sour taste to come back up. A lot of these bacteria will also put out alkaline waste byproducts that further alkalize the stomach and restrict your ability to digest your food even more. So this can create a lot of nutrient deficiencies, but also all the toxins that they put out, if the body can't detox them correctly, that can create a world of trouble as well. If you're not sure if this is an issue for you, we'll put a link in the description below for our video on signs of a bacterial overgrowth. And if that's the case, reducing that overgrowth could really reduce this whole sour taste in the morning symptom. And I'll have some links in the description to show that this is very common with an H. pylori infection in the stomach. So if a person can wipe out that infection, that can help a lot. Now keep in mind that I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you any type of medical advice. I'm basically just a professional stand-up comic turned nutrition author, because when I lost my voice for 8 years, 23 different doctors couldn't help me fix my digestive issues and get my voice back. So I had to dig for my own answers. So now I teach health professionals in more than 40 countries how to help their clients fix the actual underlying causes of problems instead of just covering up the symptoms. So you can just use this video as educational material, and then that'll help you ask the right questions for your doctor. Now, cause number 4 can be a sinus or a dental infection. So when we look at this study on chronic rhinosinusitis symptoms, we see that a sour taste is a common symptom here. And that could be a bacterial infection in the sinuses that's kind of feeding down into the throat and down into that esophagus and even into the mouth. And remember, these types of bacteria can ferment things as well and create this sour taste as well. But also, if an infection is feeding down from the sinuses, then it's also going into the stomach and setting up camp there. And it could be putting out alkaline waste that's restricting the body's ability to break down your food correctly, or restricting the stomach's ability to acidify enough to trigger that LES valve to close. So now you have this bacteria and all the byproducts feeding down and coming into your mouth, but also creating trouble that could really magnify or create these acid reflux problems that we were talking about. A lot of people also will have some type of pocket in their mouth, like maybe they had a root canal or something, and some infection has set up camp in that pocket, and now that bacteria is feeding into the mouth, creating all of those symptoms, or again, feeding down into the stomach and magnifying any reflux problems. So a person might need to go to a biological dentist to see if there's some type of infection in the mouth. Most standard dentists will just yank a tooth out and then sew the pocket up, and they won't really fill it in to make sure that an infection can't get in there. So a biological dentist can help you figure out if there's a problem or not. I had a chronic sinus infection, and I wasn't dealing with any sinus symptoms unless I had a cold. But this sinus infection that I had was feeding down and really magnifying and bringing my reflux symptoms back. So I'll put a link in the description below for our video on understanding sinus infections and your digestion if you feel like you need to dig into that a little bit. But you can see a variety of issues can create this symptom, but in most cases it has to deal with a lack of stomach acid that's allowing reflux to come back up, or a lack of stomach acid that's allowing some overgrowth to take over and ferment all these things that's creating that sour taste, or some other infection that's kind of feeding into those areas. So if you can take steps to correct those issues, not only are you going to get rid of this symptom of waking up with a sour taste, but you can get rid of all the trouble that can come from an inability to digest your food and access nutrients, or an inability to kill off all these bad guys coming in and all the havoc that they can create. So this is something you really want to correct. We'll have a link in the description below for our totally free digestion course if you really need help walking through some of these steps of figuring out which aspects of digestion are not working correctly, and the steps you can take to wipe out all these overgrowths or improve the low stomach acid. So that link to that totally free course will be in the description below. So I hope that helps. And right now, if you know that you have reflux issues and you've been trying to correct it but not seeing any success, you can jump over and check out our video on the hidden reason that your reflux won't stay gone. I can't wait to hear about your results.